I never imagined my summer would end with my heart broken and rebuilt in ways I could never explain. Summer camp was supposed to be a place for esmoires, swimming, and ridiculous talent shows, not confessions of feelings I had buried deep inside for years. Yet here I was lying in my sleeping bag, listening to the quiet of the night, and knowing that everything was about to change. It all started on the first day, when I arrived at the sprawling campsite in upstate New York, my duffel bag heavier than my own insecurities. The cabins were lined up in perfect rows, with chirping birds and the faint smell of pine needles filling the air. I was expecting the usual awkward introductions, getting lost on hikes, maybe one or two friendly faces. What I didn't expect was to see her. Samantha. She had been the kind of girl who made it impossible to feel invisible. Tall, with hair that caught the sunlight like spun gold, and eyes that seemed to know everything about everyone, even the things you didn't want her to see. She had this effortless confidence that made the rest of us feel clumsy in comparison. And the first time our eyes met, I could swear she smirked, though later I realized it was more like an amused judgment. She had looked right through me, and I hated myself a little for noticing how breathtaking she was. Summer camp quickly became a battlefield of feelings I wasn't prepared for. Samantha was popular, a natural leader with everyone gravitating toward her, while I stayed in the background, blending in with the shadows. Yet somehow fate, or whatever cruel twist it was, kept throwing us together. Canoeing, cabin chores, late-night campfire stories. Every encounter felt like walking a tightrope over my own heart. By the third day, I had memorized the way her laugh shifted when she was amused, the soft curve of her smile, the way she ran her fingers through her hair when she was annoyed. And I hated it because I knew she had no idea, and I had no idea how to tell her. Then came the talent show fiasco, where she effortlessly stole the spotlight with a solo performance, leaving me sitting in the front row, clapping too hard, wishing I could disappear at the same time. But life, as it often does, thrives on irony. Because despite her cold perfection, there were cracks. Little glimpses of vulnerability. A whispered curse when she dropped her prop during rehearsal. A flash of uncertainty behind those confident eyes. I began to realize she wasn't infallible, she was human. And maybe, just maybe, she wasn't immune to noticing me either. The nights at camp were the hardest. We slept in cabins with thin walls and creaking floorboards, and I often lay awake, imagining what it would be like if the boundaries blurred. I was painfully aware of how far apart we were, yet acutely aware of the electric tension whenever our eyes met. It was maddening and beautiful all at once, a forbidden pull that made my chest ache. On the fifth night, everything changed. I had just returned from a late-night swim, feeling the chill of the lake cling to my skin, when I noticed her standing alone by the fire pit. The flames cast dancing shadows on her face, highlighting the intensity in her eyes. She looked at me, really looked, and for a moment my entire summer condensed into that gaze. "You're staring," she said, and I panicked, turning my head as though I'd been caught doing something shameful. But she just laughed, a soft, teasing sound that made my heart lurch. "Relax. Don't freak out. I just noticed you're always staring at me." I froze. My face burned. I wasn't sure," she interrupted, stepping closer. The heat from the fire seemed to melt the space between us. "It's okay. I like that you notice things. Most people don't." I wanted to say something clever, something bold, but my mouth refused. All I could do was nod, my throat tight, my hands trembling. Over the next few days she began to seek me out. Small touches that lingered just a moment too long, accidental brushes of hands, glances that held questions neither of us dared voice. It was intoxicating and terrifying, this dance of proximity and denial. I felt as though I was teetering on the edge of a cliff, drawn irresistibly toward the unknown. And then came the night I'll never forget. The camp was quiet, the usual nighttime hum of crickets filling the air. I had just fallen asleep when I felt a soft weight settle onto the edge of my sleeping bag. My eyes snapped open and there she was. Samantha. Wide-eyed, hesitant, yet undeniably determined. "What are you doing?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. She didn't answer. Instead, she leaned closer, her breath warm against my cheek, and pressed her lips to mine. The world seemed to stop. My heart leapt, my stomach flipped, and in that single impossible kiss, everything I had felt all summer came rushing to the surface. Confusion, fear, longing, desire all tangled together in a dizzying storm. I barely remembered collapsing into her arms, letting the night swallow us whole. For the first time, I wasn't hiding, wasn't trying to shrink into the shadows. I was seen fully and completely by the girl I had both adored and feared. The next morning was awkward, of course. She smiled at me, her usual confident self, as if nothing had happened, but there was a softness in her gaze that hadn't been there before. And I knew deep down that our lives had shifted in ways neither of us could ignore. Over the following weeks, we navigated the treacherous waters of hidden glances, secret touches, and whispered conversations beneath the moonlight. Our bond grew stronger, our connection undeniable, and the lines between friendship, admiration, and something more blurred beautifully. Each stolen moment felt sacred, a rebellion against the world that expected us to stay in our assigned roles. Samantha, the girl who once looked down on me, became my anchor and my chaos. She challenged me, teased me, and broke me open in ways I didn't know I needed. And I, timid and uncertain, found courage in her fire, discovering a part of myself I had kept buried for too long. By the last day of camp, we had shared countless secret smiles, lingering touches, and confessions whispered in the dark. Our farewell was bittersweet promises to write, to visit, to hold on to this fragile, beautiful thing that had grown between us. As I hugged her goodbye, the reality hit me. Summer would end, but our story was just beginning. The bus ride home was long and quiet, but I didn't feel sad. I felt alive. I had survived heartbreak and fear, and I had discovered love in the most unexpected place. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew that no matter where life took us, the memory of that night, that kiss, and the girl who had once looked down on me would linger forever. The weeks after camp felt surreal. Returning to my normal life in suburban Connecticut was like waking from a vivid dream, the kind that lingers even after you open your eyes, leaving your heart unsettled and your thoughts tangled. Samantha was gone, yet she was everywhere. Every song that played on the radio, every golden shaft of sunlight that cut through my window, every late-night moment when I found myself scrolling through old camp photos, desperate to see her face again. We had promised to stay in touch, of course, but life had a way of complicating things. Texts were sporadic at first. Long, hesitant messages filled with careful wording, testing the waters. Then came the phone calls, awkward at first, but slowly, the rhythm of our friendship, our secret returned. I could feel her teasing energy even through a cracked screen, her voice curling around my heart, warming me like a memory that refused to fade. It wasn't long before our conversations became confessions. Not just about camp, not just about stolen glances, but about everything: dreams, fears, the things we couldn't tell anyone else. I learned about the pressures she faced at home, her mother's impossible expectations, the constant demand to be perfect. I realized that her confidence at camp wasn't the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. And in those moments I understood her in a way no one else ever could. One Friday evening, the kind that hums with the promise of weekend freedom, she called me with a mischievous lilt in her voice. "I'm coming over," she said simply. There was no room for argument, no pleading. The certainty in her tone made my heart race before I even said yes. When she arrived, it was like stepping back into that campfire glow, the world outside the small circle of her presence fading away. We sat on my bedroom floor, legs tangled, music playing softly in the background. The air between us was electric, a tension that had been simmering for weeks finally threatening to boil over. "You think about it too much, don't you?" she teased, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. Her fingers lingered and I shivered, unable to stop the quickened pulse in my chest. I can't help it," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "You're everything." Her laugh was soft, almost tender. "Everything?" she echoed, and I nodded, unable to meet her gaze for more than a fleeting moment. She leaned closer, and the world shrank to the curve of her lips, the warmth of her skin, the undeniable pull that had haunted me since that night at camp. Our kiss was tentative at first, a question, an exploration, and then it deepened, urgent and demanding, as if both of us had been holding our breath for months and were finally ready to exhale together. The following days were a whirlwind. We navigated the delicate territory of secrecy: school, friends, family, all unaware of the fire that had been ignited between us. Our connection was intoxicating. Every stolen moment, every lingering glance, Every brush of hands was an affirmation of a bond that neither of us wanted to name, yet both of us recognized. But with passion came fear. I could see it in her eyes, the doubt, the hesitation, the question of what it would mean if anyone discovered us. Samantha had always been bold, but now I realized that the very things that made her fearless at camp were also her armor. She had walls I hadn't yet breached, and I worried that one misstep could send us both tumbling into heartbreak. One night, as autumn painted the trees in shades of fire and gold, we found ourselves alone in the park near my house. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and the faint promise of winter. We walked side by side, neither speaking, the silence heavy with anticipation. Finally, I stopped and turned to her. "Samantha, do you ever think about us?" Her gaze softened, vulnerable in a way I rarely saw. "All the time," she admitted. "But I'm scared. Scared of what people would think, scared of losing this, of losing you." I reached for her hand, holding it tightly. "I don't care what anyone thinks. I want us, whatever that means." Her lips curved into a smile, tinged with relief and something else, hope, maybe. "Then let's figure it out," she whispered, pulling me into her arms. That night, under the canopy of stars, we kissed with no hesitation, letting the world around us dissolve into nothing. Yet life refused to be simple. Gossip at school began to stir, fueled by careless remarks and half-truths. I felt the weight of every glance, every whispered comment, and I realized how much courage it would take to fully embrace what we had. Samantha and I clung to each other, our love both a sanctuary and a source of anxiety, knowing that the outside world might never understand. Despite the challenges, our bond only grew stronger. We shared secrets, fears, and dreams with an intimacy that bordered on sacred. She taught me to embrace my own strength, to trust in my instincts, to love without reservation. And I, in turn, reminded her that vulnerability could be beautiful, that leaning on someone didn't make you weak, it made you human. Winter came, blanketing our town in snow, and with it, the quiet moments that defined our relationship. Snowball fights, late-night walks under streetlights, whispering our dreams into the cold air. Each moment was a testament to the resilience of our love, a defiance of the fear that had threatened to overshadow us. Then came the moment that tested us both. Samantha's parents discovered our relationship through a misdirected text, and the confrontation was brutal. The anger, the disbelief, the insistence that she couldn't possibly understand her own feelings was suffocating. For the first time, I saw cracks in her confident exterior, the weight of expectation pressing down on her like a storm cloud. I held her hand through it all, whispering that we would find a way, that love wasn't wrong, that she wasn't alone. And slowly, painfully, she began to believe me. Together, we navigated the turbulence, finding strength in each other, discovering that the heart can endure far more than we imagine. By spring, the world seemed to breathe again. Flowers bloomed, the air warmed, and our relationship, tempered by trials, became something extraordinary. We laughed freely, loved fiercely, and allowed ourselves to dream without fear. The girl who had once looked down on me became my equal, my partner, my safe place. And I became hers in every way that mattered. Our first anniversary after camp was spent in the same forest where we had shared our first night together. We walked hand in hand, memories of our stolen summer glances interwoven with the triumphs and heartbreaks of the months since. She pulled me close, her forehead resting against mine. "I never thought we'd make it," she admitted, her voice soft and honest. "I never thought anyone could see me like you do." I smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "And I never thought I'd be brave enough to fall for someone like you. But here we are." Her lips found mine in a kiss that was both a promise and a celebration, a declaration of everything we had survived, everything we had discovered, and everything we would face together. The forest held our laughter, our whispers, our hearts beating in tandem, and I knew that no matter what storms came, we would weather them side by side. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, I realized that love, real, complicated, unafraid love, was worth every risk, every fear, every tear. And as I held Samantha close, I understood something profound. The girl who had once looked down on me had taught me the greatest lesson of all, that hearts are meant to be open, to be vulnerable, to be courageous, and to love without apology. And in that moment, under the fading light, I knew that our story, though it had begun in secrecy and uncertainty, would continue to unfold with passion, tenderness, and unwavering devotion. We had found each other in the most unexpected way, and together we had discovered a love that was fearless, honest, and eternal. Summer had returned, carrying with it the familiar sense of pine, fresh-cut grass, and the faint tang of sunscreen. I hadn't set foot in that camp for nearly a year, yet stepping through the gates felt like stepping back into a time capsule of my own heart. Memories of stolen glances, whispered confessions, and that first impossible kiss danced vividly around me, bringing both a smile and a tremor of nerves. Samantha was already there, leaning against the familiar wooden fence near the lake, hair glinting gold in the late afternoon sun. She looked up as I approached, her eyes widening in that exact way they always did when we reunited. Part surprise, part delight, and wholly full of that magnetic energy that made my chest ache. "I can't believe it's been a year," she said, walking toward me, her hand reaching out without hesitation. "You haven't changed a bit." "Neither have you," I replied, laughing softly, though my heart was doing somersaults. "Maybe a little taller, more confident." She smirked, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear as if to say, "Yes, I'm perfect." But I knew better. Beneath that effortless exterior was the same girl who had once looked down on me, who had taught me bravery without even trying. And beneath my own nervous smile was the same girl who had fallen entirely and without regret. We spent the first few days revisiting old spots: our cabin, the dock where we'd swum under moonlight, the small clearing where I had confessed my feelings for the first time. Every corner held echoes of our laughter, our whispered secrets, and the subtle brush of hands that had started it all. But this summer felt different. There were no walls, no fear of discovery, no need to navigate the complicated labyrinth of secrecy. We were free, and it was intoxicating. Our kisses were longer, our touches bolder yet always tender. We explored the depths of each other's hearts, daring to dream about a future that had once seemed impossible. One night, after the campfire had died down and the stars had claimed the sky, we lay on the dock, legs dangling over the edge, toes skimming the cool lake water. Samantha rested her head on my shoulder, and I traced lazy patterns along her arm. "You know," she murmured, her voice soft and vulnerable, "I never thought this could be real. I thought feelings like ours only existed in books, or in other people's lives. But here we are." I kissed the top of her head, holding her close. "It is real. And it's ours. No one can take this from us." She tilted her head up to meet my gaze, eyes glimmering with unshed tears of joy. "Promise me something. Anything. That we never stop being brave. That we never let the world tell us who to be or who to love. No matter what comes, we fight for this." "I promise," I said, sealing it with a kiss that tasted of hope, freedom, and endless possibility. The following weeks were a blur of laughter, adventure, and quiet intimacy. We canoeing across the lake at dawn, chasing fireflies through the meadows, sneaking into the kitchen late at night to steal cookies and whisper dreams to one another. Every moment was precious, every heartbeat a reminder that we had found something extraordinary. And yet life, as it always does, nudged us toward growth. Our love was strong, but we both knew the importance of balance. We pursued our passions, our studies, and our friendships, letting our relationship be a source of strength rather than a cage. We encouraged each other to take risks, to step out of comfort zones, to be unapologetically ourselves. One afternoon, while hiking the trail that wound up the hill behind the camp, Samantha stopped suddenly, turning to face me. Her expression was serious yet gentle, the way she looked at me making my heart skip. "I've been thinking," she said, taking my hands in hers, "about us, about the future, about everything we've been through. And I want more. I don't just want summers together. I want every day with you." My breath caught. "Samantha," I started, but words failed me, because everything I wanted to say was already written in the way my heart raced, in the way my hands trembled as they held hers. She smiled, brushing a lock of hair from my face. "I mean it. I love you. And I want to face the world with you, not behind closed doors or stolen moments." Tears pricked at the corners of my eyes. "I love you too," I whispered, my voice breaking with emotion. "And I want that too. I want everything with you." We kissed, a slow, deliberate kiss that felt like the culmination of every moment, every struggle, every secret we had ever shared. The world around us, trees, sky, the distant hum of the lake faded until it was just us, 2 hearts beating in unison, fearless at last. That summer we built more than memories. We built a foundation, a life we could imagine stepping into, no matter how uncertain or intimidating it seemed. We laughed at our past insecurities, celebrated our small victories, and held each other through the inevitable missteps. Love, we realized, wasn't about perfection, it was about showing up, consistently, vulnerably, with courage and honesty. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky turned molten gold, we sat on the dock again, shoulders brushing, watching the water reflect the last light of day. "I never thought I'd be this happy," Samantha admitted, leaning her head against mine. "I never thought love could feel like this, safe, thrilling, messy, perfect all at once." "It's because it's real," I replied. "We made it real together. That's what matters." She smiled, her eyes reflecting the fiery sky. "Then let's never stop making it real. Let's never stop fighting for it, for us." "I promise," I said, entwining my fingers with hers. "Always." The months passed, carrying us through school, summer jobs, and family gatherings, and yet no matter how far life stretched us, we remained anchored to each other. Distance could not weaken the bond we had forged. Time could not erode the love we nurtured. Every reunion, every whispered confession, every gentle touch was a testament to our resilience, to the truth that we had discovered in one another. By the next summer, we returned to camp not as shy teenagers hiding in the shadows, but as a couple proud of the love we shared. We walked hand in hand through the familiar trails, laughing openly, daring to be visible in a way we had never dared before. The camp that had once felt like a stage for insecurities now became a playground for joy, freedom, and unguarded happiness. One night, under a sky blanketed with stars, we lay on the dock once more, arms wrapped around each other, whispering our dreams into the quiet night. We spoke of college, of travels we wanted to take, of the home we hoped to build. And through it all, there was no fear, only certainty that we were stronger together, that our love could weather anything. Samantha turned to me, eyes sparkling. "You know, I used to look down on you that first summer," she admitted, a teasing lilt in her voice. "I thought you were too quiet, too cautious. But now I see how wrong I was. You've always been brave, in ways I never appreciated until I needed you." I laughed softly, heart swelling. "And I used to think you were untouchable, perfect in every way. But now I see your heart, and it's beautiful. Strong, fierce, and full of love. Exactly what I need." We kissed again. A kiss that was not about secrecy or fear, but about celebration. About love that had survived storms, defied expectations, and grown into something radiant and unshakable. The world around us was still messy, still complicated, but within our embrace it was perfect. The summer ended, as summers always do, with promises to return, to hold on to the love we had discovered. And as we drove away from camp, hands clasped tightly, hearts full, we knew this was not an ending but a continuation, a story still unfolding, full of hope, courage, and the kind of love that transforms everything. Years later, we would look back at that first summer, the summer of stolen glances, whispered confessions, and a single life-changing kiss and smile. Because that summer had taught us the most important lesson of all. That love, when brave and true, could turn even the most unexpected moments into a lifetime of happiness. And so our story, which began in secrecy and uncertainty, ended not in doubt or fear, but in joy, freedom, and the gentle certainty that we had found something rare and extraordinary. We had found each other. We had found home. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.